pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We have 4 board members present, and Ms. Shumway is joining us via Zoom. So we will begin with item 4. Would anyone like to address the board this evening? No one. Item 5 is a thank you to the Kingman Lions Club. Dr. Dorner, are you going to help us with that? Oh, just announce it? Oh, okay. So we want to thank the Kingman's Lions Club for helping to complete over 500 vision screenings at Wallapai Elementary School.
Oh, thank you.
Very helpful in that.
Now, is there anyone from the Lions Club here? Do you know? Oh, gotcha. Okay. Item 6 are reports, and we have no board reports this evening, but we do have a report from our superintendent. Dr. Dorner?
Nope, I do
No
not
report.
Have, nope.
No report. Okay.
I was going to report on the law conference, but we didn't get it on the agenda, so I can do that next time.
Okay, that's fine. Item 7 is to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 8 is a second reading for change in policies per ASBA Policy Service Advisory. And this is the second reading. Do any board members have any comments on any of the recommended policy changes?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Shumway.
So it's policy advisory number 6797 and 698. I brought those up last time. These are recommended changes to the current policy that would make any digital item need to be approved by the board before we could use that. And that includes anything found on the internet. So that would be nearly impossible for the board to approve the entire internet, as well as nearly impossible to police or uphold. So it is my recommendation that we approve all of these with the exception of 697 and 698, and we don't approve those at all. It's not a language change. It's just don't change the current policy with these recommendations.
Okay. Do we have any comments, or Ms. Woolsey, do you have any background on that, why ASBA is recommending that?
I can't hear her if she's speaking.
She's not speaking yet. She's fixing her mic. Mr. Jacks?
I guess one comment is when you take a look at it, it appears to me that ASBA is just going along with the additional language that was put in by ARS 15-721 and ARS 15-722 that came out of the state legislature. And that's why ASBA is saying that we should also include digital content.
Yes, Ms. Weiser.
Is it possible for us, if we had language in our policies about what we consider digital content, about what we would approve as digital content, couldn't we approve this policy and then create that language?
Well, I think board member Shumway, you'll have to help me out, but I think not only were you talking about digitally, but previously we were talking about supplemental.
Yeah,
that had to be approved by the board, and I know that we had discussions on
arbitrary, we found something on the internet, the things that are supplementing the textbook. So a lot of textbooks instead of printed form are now digital. And that's what they're trying to focus on, I think. Because we were finding digital content, 10 years ago when I was teaching, right? It's not the same as what this could be construed to be is the intent, correct? I think the intent was just on the textbook, the allowance of the digital versus the unintended consequence of we've got to approve all of these extra little pieces, even if it's a paragraph we found online.
Right. I think 697 and 698, but see, 698 says literally supplementary material. I think 697 is things that we use digitally that are digital textbooks.
So it's this language that kind of has us in the situation we're in currently. So right now, if a teacher finds a poem in a book of poetry, an anthology, they have to have that approved by this board. That is the current policy. And so basically anything printed, because there was a change, was that in 2018? Jerry, if you can correct me.
Being enforced in 2018, it came to us in 2017.
Okay, so basically, it was, I think it was similar like to this, where we had a definition of what textbooks were and that the board had to approve all material. And then a change came through, probably like this. I was before my time here on the board. And now anything that is written down that the teacher wants to use whole class has to get approved by the board. Let me give you an example. We were doing in my classroom, we were doing a lesson on environment and environmental impacts of technology. And so I pulled the lyrics from Paved Paradise, Put Up a Parking Lot, that song. And we talked, I didn't tell them it was a song. It was a poem, right? Because it was written like a poem. And it was a great intro to that lesson. With this change that was approved in 2018, I would not be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to say, oh my gosh, this is relevant. My kids would love that. So I imagine that it came across like this. If we approve this, then we could go into that slippery slope of now the board has to approve basically anything the teacher uses, print or digital, a picture from the internet. Maybe it was a 9/11 lesson and it was a picture. We would have to approve that prior to. You lose those teachable moments. You lose that opportunity to reach the kids in the moment and with relevant content. So while that happened prior to my time, I don't want to let this slip through as well with me on the board.
Yes.
Okay, it's my understanding that this language is the language that the Arizona legislature passed as a revised statute. Is that correct?
Well, the revised statute was in there. I would have to pull up the exact statute to see if it's the same exact statute. Sorry, I don't.
Because we can't change language of a statute.
You can't. No, you can't
We can
change language of a law, but you can change language of a policy.
Okay, but is the Arizona statute, did they pass this policy? Did they pass this? Is this in their statute to do this? Are they saying that the boards need to do this?
They can't.
I don't know if they're saying if the boards need to do that. I think they're saying this is the law.
Okay, all right. So then what we need to do either say yes or no on these instead of marking out words.
I disagree. If the law is the law, then why do we as school boards even have policies at all? If this what needed to be approved by a board, then we do have a choice. If it doesn't need to be approved by the board because it's law, this wouldn't even come up to us.
So the language came from the law, but it went into policy for ASBA. ASBA takes the law and adds policy or changes policy with
match
the
the law.
information from the law.
Okay, so then,
ASBA came up with this verbiage.
okay. So the statute does not say textbook supplementary materials need to be approved by the boards.
I could not
Oh.
tell you absolutely. I would have to look up that statute.
Okay.
Never been asked that, so I've never had them.
Well, we've always had to go by statutes on city and all government
Right.
documentation, so, okay.
Is it fair
Go ahead.
to approve everything but those and put them on next month?
Sure.
Sure we can.
You can make that in a motion.
So I'll make that a motion
So what's your motion?
that we approve everything but 697 and 698.
And we'll add that to the next agenda
and add them
with
to
the
next
statute
agenda.
aligned and crosswalked with it.
Yeah, further discussion in absence.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve all of the listed policies except number 697 and 698, which will be on our next agenda, our next meeting in October.
I'll second.
So we have a motion, second by Mr. Jacks. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 9, information for policy BAA school board self-evaluation to be discussed on October 12th, 2021 board meeting. So in our packets, STAR included the board evaluation form that we'll use. So if everyone could fill that out and send it to STAR, and she will gather the information, and then we will discuss our self-evaluation at the next board meeting. Any questions on that? And Dr. Dorner, I think we're going to invite you to fill one out also, since you work closely with us. Would you like to do that? Thanks.
Sure.
Item 10, approve early intervention prevention cognitive behavioral life skills for students' curriculum to be on display for the required 60 days beginning July 13th, 2021. This curriculum will be piloted at the high school level.
This program helps with our initiative under our staff and student well-being. We're asking for you to.
You receive no public comment from it since it's been on display? Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 11, approve book on display for the required 60 days beginning June 8th, 2021.
This has also been on display for this is to also support several initiatives under our equitable and access for learning. We're asking to approve this at the middle school level.
Any questions for Mrs. Woolsey or a motion?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 12, approve the 2021-22 district representatives who will participate in special education individual education plans. And they're listed there.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is a general housekeeping item that comes before you regularly when we need to approve administrators on campuses to participate on IEP meetings and representing the district.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 12, approve reconfiguration of Lee Williams High School from 6-8 to 9-12 space.
Does he have a microphone?
he does. Now he has two.
Oh. Right. So this is an administrative fix. The school facility board is showing both old White Cliffs and Lee Williams on our building inventory. So by reconfiguring the space, it'll remove the pre-remodeled square footage and only leave the current improved space.
I make a motion to approve and thank you for catching that, everyone.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 14, approve recommendation to renew district RFP 2110-26 award for hardware and software small tools with Kingman True Value for fiscal year 22. This is year 2 of a 5-year award.
Mr. President, members of the board, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So as part of the process to ensure all staff and students have access to physically safe buildings, Kingman True Value was awarded RFP 2110-26 for hardware and small tools last year. We recommend renewing this contract, which allows staff to purchase needed supplies on the same day they're ordered. The local company also offers discounted pricing on a wide variety of supplies, including but not limited to electrical, grounds, painting, nuts, and bolts. Last year, we spent close to $40,000 with the company, and this would be year 2 of 5.
Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Sherman or a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 15, approve district recommendation to purchase a new copier lease through All Copy Products via Mojave contract 20J-ACP-0129.
Mr. President, members of the board, currently we're in year 3 of a 5-year agreement with Xerox for leased copiers throughout our district. The first 3 years of this contract have been nothing but trouble, exemplified by regular outages, slow training and supply turnarounds, and unfortunately poor customer service at times. This has caused a morale issue throughout KUSD, and no matter what we have done to alleviate, the problems keep coming back. With that in mind, we entered into discussions with ACP, which provides sharp copiers via lease agreements. We negotiated a contract with ACP for improved, higher capacity machines district-wide, regular preventative maintenance, and printing supplies. To ensure we didn't replace one subpar company with another, the district's procurement department interviewed school-level officials in Arizona who currently operate under the very contract we are considering. All information gathered pointed to ACP being a better, more responsive company. The agreement we plan to enter with ACP will also include paying off our current agreement with Xerox. The monthly total under ACP will be over $21,000 per month, which is a $5,000 increase monthly to what we're paying with Xerox. And this has been somewhat of a long and arduous process. So I'll take any questions if you'd like.
I have a question.
Yes, Mrs. Young.
One, what is the payoff of the contract? And 2, if we've had so much trouble over 3 years, why couldn't we get out of the contract without a cost?
And their contract doesn't necessarily work like that. The arguments between the district and the company have been related to, we bring an issue to them, they point out that we're not reporting our issues or we're not using the products properly. So we go through training processes, get it up and running, and then we circle back into the same issue again. I don't see a way out of the contract for free, because I mean, we did sign for it, and there's just no way out of it. I don't understand what you're asking. I can't say we don't like your business, I'm not paying this money.
Well, if we're having serious problems,
They're not.
and we have a paper trail of all of the issues, and
We
they
don't.
continue to occur.
But we don't often always have that paper trail, because that sometimes falls on an admin assistant to call a company who they've had to call 6 times before, and then they just don't call and they try to fix it themselves. So the serious problems are serious to KUSD, but as far as a contract goes for equipment, they're not that serious. It's serious because it's a morale issue and it continues to happen. But at the same time, the copiers are up and running. They sent techs out. They worked overtime to get them fixing. They've done everything that they're supposed to do. We are just completely unhappy with the contract.
Okay, I understand. So it's a morale issue versus a financial issue. We're going to pay $5,000 more a month.
It will.
And are you assured that it's going to be better?
I can't be assured of that. These are copier companies, and everything I've learned from copier companies is that they aren't necessarily the best of the best when it comes to school districts. That's why we interviewed local Arizona school districts. We didn't ask their superintendent. We asked their admin assistants, their vice principals, people on the ground actually using these Sharp products. And what we heard back was better service, more reliable, and things like that. And we're paying more because we're going for bigger machines. We were sold a, go ahead.
I can add in on that.
That didn't.
One of
What?
the Xerox issues is they kept telling us that the machines that we currently have are a large enough or big enough capacity to meet the needs of our overall copy count. However, in an instructional setting, copy counts are high on Sunday afternoons, Monday mornings, Thursday afternoons when they're planning. And it's not feasible to say to the staffs who need to parse it out evenly, because that's not how time runs in a school. And so the argument, and I think this goes back to you, Roger, if you wanted to add any comments from year one, is stop using it. So stop doing them all at once because you're getting the copiers hot. You need to, spread it out, and then the schools would go without copiers, and that's none of that is feasible. So we said when Aaron was looking through new companies with procurement, we want the machine that can meet our needs at our peak times.
Okay, I understand that.
So
It just didn't say you were going to a larger capacity. It did not say that.
Yeah,
I
so
did-
we went
I
to a
did
larger
say that.
capacity so they
You
could
did?
have all their staff doing it at those peak times, and they won't overheat. That's the plan, right? Is that correct, Aaron?
Yeah, it is. And Board Member Young, I said, we negotiated a contract with ACP for improved higher capacity machines district-wide.
Okay.
We used to have higher capacity machines in the district. This contract that we entered into Xerox were lower capacity machines. We were under the impression that we were paying for too much. It has completely backfired in our face 3 years later, or the entire time. And this is our way of going back to the types of capacity machines we had in the past. With Xerox offered to essentially offer us a new contract with new machines all throughout. But then given the state of affairs with Xerox, I don't think it's in the district's best benefit to continue business with them. They're more of our adversaries than anything.
Okay. So you mean your higher capacity means faster machines?
Can take on more, right? So when I say higher capacity, they'll tell you, hey, this machine can do 100,000 copies in a month, but it can't do 10,000 in an hour. So you're looking for machines that can do high capacity at all times.
Thank you.
Sorry if I'm unclear.
Yeah, I'm
It's
very
okay.
familiar with this situation over the last 3 or 4 years, and it has been totally frustrating. And it's demoralizing. Machines overheat all the time. They break down, and there were numerous opportunities and numerous challenges with the company to try to get them to step up and fix the machines, and they always had an excuse as why things were the way they were. It never turned around, and I think the district is making a good decision to cut this and move on.
Okay. I just didn't understand why we couldn't break the contract if we had that many issues.
I apologize.
Hey, Aaron, I can't remember the name of the Mojave County, the source that we use when we go out for bid for things, and you know what I'm talking about?
The Mojave County contracts?
No, what's the services or Mojave Education Services? Is that familiar? Is this company a part of that? Like, are they endorsed by them? And
they're under the Mojave contract. Yes. That to use part of the approval here is approval to use that Mojave contract that comes through that services department.
for the new, the one that we're talking about
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
But is Xerox under the Mojave County contract?
It was when we entered into the agreement, and I'm pretty sure they are now.
So they were both options.
So that gives us no negotiating power or anything if they're endorsed by them. I thought, to keep it simple, I thought that companies that were endorsed by that Mojave Education Services were looked at and scrutinized, and that's why the district would go with them or honor contracts with them. They
are. And if we were in a situation where they essentially were not providing the service, we could report them to the county and that contract and potentially get into a position where we don't have to pay. But that's not the case. They try to provide the services. They continue to send out texts. They continue to answer our phone calls.
It's just less than what we need.
It's just not what we need.
Make a motion to approve.
Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I got a text
Hold
from
on.
procurement.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman. So we have a motion and a second, and go ahead.
Xerox is on state contract, not on the Mojave contract. Still a level of scrutiny, but not necessarily in our backyard.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That's 5-0 motion. Motion's approved 5-0. Item 16, discussion focused on KUSD's next official budget revision. Discussion only.
Mr. President, members of the board, I had said during budget approval time that I would bring a revision at this time after all the laws had made it through at the state level. I don't have that revision yet. I'd like to wait for the 40th day, either bring it to you in October, most likely November. But some things I have learned along the way is that even if those laws increased our budget capacity, we can't raise taxes anymore. So the only money that can come to us will come through the state coffers. Any sort of tax capacity that we should be allowed now, that would have to be addressed next year because we submitted our taxes, our tax rates with the adopted budget, and that cannot be changed. I just didn't want you guys to think that I had forgotten about it or wasn't going to tell you about it. So
yeah. Ms. Weiser has a question.
Given that we're changing our capacity with the facilities board, will that have any effect?
That'll have an effect on the reporting processes that come afterward when they tell us how much we spent per square foot and how much of that was for students versus how much of that was for administrative. But as far as budgeting right now, it has no bearing whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Sherman? Okay, we'll move to item 17, which is a possible motion to move into executive session regarding the request to be released from fiscal year 21-22 employment contracts by, Ms. Murphy, you have to help me out, Ryan Murakami Samala. Was that good? And Tammy Schiffer. And those employees are not here this evening. Is that correct? Tammy's here? Oh, Tammy's here. Okay. Okay. So we will, do I have a motion to move into executive session?
Motion to move into executive session.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. So we will move into executive session with Mrs. Schiffer and our superintendent and Ms. Mareshi. And we're going to go in this room, correct?
What about Jen?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to make everyone else move.
Mhm.
Last time we just asked everyone to step out.
What are we doing? Oh, I was gonna move in there. Yeah, I didn't want to make everyone leave. Okay, it's off already? Okay.